Okay, I'll start the script while we're waiting for a couple more people to show up. This open meeting, the select board, finance committee and planning board is being conducted remotely pursuant to chapter 20, the Acts 2021. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless participation is required by law. This meeting will feature, no, this meeting may not feature public comment. So let me look at the,
The agenda does not have public comment on it.
yeah, I was looking for Denise, thank you.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Okay, we will, for roll call, we'll call each member's names, please respond in an affirmative. Let's see, we are using Zoom webinar for meetings, which allows for the public to participate in the meeting as an attendee. All supporting materials that have been provided to the members of this body are available on the town's website, unless otherwise noted. Please remember to mute your phones and computers when you're not speaking. I hear some background and stuff going on with everybody here. Please mute. And we'll state our name in the beginning. And so I think that's good on the remote. I will call the select board meeting to order by roll call. Malcolm.
Here.
Don.
Here.
Brooke.
Here.
And is Matt here yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so we are in session for us, Denise.
Thank you, Jason. Again, roll call. So Joe,
Here.
Peter,
Here.
Joanna,
Thanks.
Here.
Stephen,
Here.
Jeremy,
Here.
Chris,
Here.
and just want to make sure nobody's on page 2. Okay, that's it for us. And Denise is here, obviously. Okay, over to you, John.
Okay, call to order the meeting, joint meeting with the finance committee and also select board, and I'll do a roll call as well. Nat Lowell,
Aye. Here.
Bill Iverson,
Here.
Joe Topham,
Here.
Barry Rector,
Present.
and I believe we have an alternate member, Abby Di Molina. Abby? It looks like you're muted. There might be a connection issue. Abby?
I'm here. Sorry, I figured out.
Okay, great. Thank you very
Sorry.
much.
It was both the app and the thing, so I'm all good. Thank you.
Great, welcome. All right. Over to you, Jason.
Thank you. Okay, so this, I think started 4 or 5 years ago, this meeting. This is for the benefit of the select board to ask the planning board and FinCom any clarifying questions or any questions about the motions through the article, at least motion for FinCom. And because this Wednesday, the select board will be able to make some comments to the warrant. Is this our last chance, Libby, this coming Wednesday?
Mhm.
Erica, yes, okay. So this is important for us to get anything clarified. We need to make some comments. So I'd like to open it up to Don, Brooke, Malcolm, Matt, if he's here. If you have any questions on any of the articles, I don't think we need to go through one by one or rows of 10. If you have a question, I think now's the time to ask.
Okay, and I have it ready to screen share. So if anybody needs it up on the screen, let me know.
Okay. And while everybody's thinking, if we are going to talk about the 175,000 from the CRC, because select board decided something different than the FinCom, if we're going to talk about that, I'd like to keep that to the very end so I can recuse and I'll come off this whole meeting and Don can share in that point. So we'll leave that to the end if that's okay. Brooke?
Can the planning board walk me through the change in the tertiary covenant just real quickly? It's adding additional districts to what we did last year. Is that, or I don't know whether it was last year or the year before. Is that correct?
Yes.
What article number is that, Brooke, please?
Hang on, I'll search for it.
Is it 43 zoning bylaw amendment tertiary lot?
Yes,
All right, let me try to pull it up.
so this already exists and we're just extending it to 2 additional zoning districts.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
With larger lots, Brooke. There's a minimum lot size with it. it's
Within
not-
those districts, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
just those,
Yep.
yep.
Yep, so it makes sense in terms of layout on lot and,
Correct.
yep. Okay,
Anything else? And with this up, I can't see everybody, so Don or Malcolm, do you have any questions, or Brooke, just go ahead.
Sorry, I'll pull it down when we're not.
That's okay. Okay. Well, Matt's not gonna be, he's not gonna make it today, so just the 4 of us. Brooke, did you unmute there?
yes, and could someone please walk me through the proposed swimming pool? Just how it compares to what else has been proposed? And what it, I understand it's cleaning up some language, but it would just be helpful.
And what number is that?
Is this Article
That's-
39?
So there's 54.
That is a.
That's the citizen
warrant
one?
article,
Okay, so it's the other
and
one that,
55 is a citizen. But I
Okay.
do see 39.
yep, is that
talking
right?
about a recreational outdoor water feature. Is that the one?
Yeah.
sir?
Yep, that's the cleanup one, right, from the planning board?
Yes. So I'll walk you through this. I can't see everyone. So this is the result of some litigation that the land court judge basically said that, we needed to change some language in the zoning bylaw. So that's what we're doing. And we're also making it, very clear what is a hot tub and what is a swimming pool. So we're deleting existing definitions and we're adding 3 types of recreational outdoor water features. So the hot tub or the spa has certain criteria, and then it has to be less than 75 square feet of surface area. And we're adding a small swimming pool that also has certain features and has to be less than 150 square feet of surface area. And then the large pool, more than 150 square feet. This removes, any confusion about gallons or depth and just limits, the criteria to the surface area. And these are, consistent with other articles that have been presented at town meeting in the past. But it just makes it much clearer.
And how does that compare to the citizen articles that are about pools?
Just flip to that.
Which I think is 54 and 55, is that right?
So Article 54 would make the planning board the special permit granting authority for swimming pools in the village residential zoning district. Both the planning board and the zoning board felt that the zoning board should remain the special permit granting authority because they deal with more neighbor to neighbor issues, whereas the planning board deals with, wider island issues. So that received a motion not to adopt from the planning board. Article 55, that article would have expanded the setbacks for swimming pools in some districts with smaller lot sizes that are in town, mostly around the Mid-Island area. And the planning board talked about those at length. They asked the article sponsor to really justify, what she was trying to mitigate with that. And in the end, they gave it a motion not to adopt because they didn't receive the information they were looking for.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, Brooke. Anything else from Don or Malcolm? No, I can't see everybody. Don, you good? Malcolm, good?
I guess the only thing I wouldn't mind is being walked through a little bit of the decision on the lighting article and the discussion on that.
6.
Sure, I'm happy to do that, Dawn. So we had several discussions on the lighting article. Several. And where we came out at the end was we were concerned as the finance committee that the article as it originally stood was frankly very difficult. Number one, difficult to understand, but number two, would be very difficult to implement, having to have a permit and change basically all the process around lighting. So we agreed, and I'm happy for the rest of the finance committee to jump in and add more commentary, but we agreed that it made sense, of course, to update lighting from 2003, I think was the original article or the original bylaw, to 2023, because technology has moved on. And then we asked the article sponsor to basically take out the permitting point of the article. So, and that's why we have such a long recommendation, because it's basically restating the Gail's article, taking out all of you have to have permits, et cetera, et cetera. Anybody else from FinCom want to jump in and be more clear than I just was?
Sure. So I think you struck at the heart of it. We were trying to update what the requirements of the bylaw would be while trying to remove some of the more administratively onerous requirements of the bylaw. So not requiring a lighting plan to be filed, not requiring one or probably several new lighting inspectors to have to police all these new things. So we'll get new requirements on the books. There'll be a new standard by which projects can be judged. And then, based on any feedback that over the next few years, the town can decide if it's appropriate to step up any enforcement or permitting requirements.
This bylaw had I'm sorry, Brooke, this bylaw had a significant amount of citizen engagement in terms of emails. I think I was up to about 30 that I kept track of and answered. So yeah, there appears to be an appetite for this amongst the citizenry. And at the same time, we felt that it was, as Stephen very correctly said, pretty onerous in terms of the asking permission part, in terms of permitting and stuff. And we felt that that wasn't something that was achievable by the town in an easy and simple way. And so that's why we asked for a revision, and that's why our comment, our FinCom motion, actually revised the majority of or not the majority of, but significant portions of the article itself. Sorry, Brooke, go ahead.
Oh, it's
No, I get.
that was helpful.
Thanks, Dawn.
So what I was going to ask is the permitting part is gone. Enforcement, I'm assuming there is an existing lighting bylaw that is enforced at some level, right? So this adds to the complexity of that enforcement, but what is the mechanism for enforcement? Is it a reporting and then do we know that?
Yeah, it's complaint based. And I wouldn't say that this update to the bylaw, at least to my understanding. I don't think it makes enforcement more complicated. I think in some ways it makes it more clear what the standards are. And I also think that it, as complicated as it is, there's many more pages than the current bylaw that we have. But in some ways, and the way it was explained to us over several meetings, this is actually easier to digest. You know, it's easier to understand what the problems could be and how to mitigate them. So, for instance, shielding on existing light fixtures or a simple change in light bulb can bring you into compliance. So again, it's very prescriptive. There's a lot of technical details here, but I think at least the version that we recommended adoption, it's more instructive. It's helpful for people who want to do the right thing, while at the same time not making it a huge challenge for town administration to try to police.
That's great. Thank you.
Denise, I would just say really quick, I watched both those conversations and I thought it was a great process with it where you all like talked with the author and really dug in, and they listened and kind of came up with a compromise that could work with both sides versus it not going through. I thought it was a great example of the process.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, and Gail, when we asked her for things like, tell us how much it will cost if somebody has to change, give us, indicative costs. Obviously, you can't know what it's going to cost for everybody. How many people will it affect? We asked her to kind of audit 5 neighborhoods and give us some examples. The sponsor did actually go do the due diligence and answer all the questions that we had as a committee before we came up with our motion. So that was also quite, Gail was very thorough in her working together with the finance committee to try to get to a sensible place.
Thank you, Don. Good question. Brooke or Malcolm? Don, anything else? No? Malcolm, you good? What else? You good? Okay. I think that's all the questions the select board has for FinCom and planning board, correct? For everyone? All right.
So Jason, at this point, I would take the baton from you because the finance committee then has a question for select board about the incremental 175,000 requested by the CRC via letter on February 24th and endorsed or supported by the select board last Wednesday. So, and as you
Okay.
need to recuse, I will bring
It's
everything
easier
to a
for me to-
close.
Yeah, for me to take off. We still have a quorum. So Don, you good?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, so for the finance committee, I don't know if everyone is aware of this. That the select board at their Wednesday meeting on the 15th of March discussed both the normal CRC applications and allocations, as well as the incremental 175,000 that we discussed at length during our finance committee meeting. So I think for the select board's benefit, I'll just kind of go through the reasons why we recommended it be brought forth as an article for this November town meeting, November special town meeting. And then I will be interested to hear what criteria you use to kind of go forward with this. Because what we had in front of us was, when it was discussed, there's no lack of understanding of the commitment that the contract review committee puts in to doing the right work behind all of these very important initiatives on the island and the support of it. And the town itself is very generous in the 650,000 plus the additional 175,000 from the cannabis grant. So, all of that is a given and well supported and respected by the finance committee. Saying that, we did have some questions some concerns in respect of the 175 requested by the chair to the finance committee and select board on February 24th, was that number one, the school didn't ask for this money. The organizations who are most closely aligned with supporting this kind of support on the island, NAMI, Fairwinds, Health Imperatives, in their requests to the Contract Review Committee for funds this year, didn't ask for funds for this. When we did the budget review of the school budget, I specifically asked the superintendent, in light of the vaping issues and in light of the damage to the schools, have you budgeted for education for students in respect of this? And she had not asked for it. There is a cannabis grant of 175,000. There's the 650. So this could have come out of this incremental 175. You could have picked something else and to not fund and fund this if this is as urgent as it was suggested to us. And then, a couple of other things just in general, the town does fund other programs. So this could have also come through a normal budgeting process in the fall and for budget reviews in January. So we felt that the 175 was a number like this. There was no basis for it. There's no program for it. There's no owner of it. And so with all of that, we felt that it wasn't appropriate to recommend spending money that had no substance behind it. Give us the money and we'll figure it out. And it just didn't seem appropriate. And it contravened the process that's been in place for years on the Contract Review Committee. And we felt it would set a bad precedent if it got allocated at the last minute. Does Joe or anybody else want to kind of say anything else about this before Joe, you're on mute. Joe, you're muted.
Sorry about that. No, I agree with everything that Denise has summarized, and but in particular, I don't know where the $175,000 comes from. Number two, as wonderful a work that the CRC does, I don't think that they're qualified to sort of just make up a need for a grant. And now we have an outside committee in effect stepping into the appropriation process and recommending to the town that it spend money based on its judgment, which, all due respect, I don't think they're qualified to make. So yeah, I don't know. Sort of just adding my 2 cents on it, Denise.
So Dawn, before I ask you to kind of summarize, because I didn't watch the select board and I didn't get the message to be at the select board until the next day. So it's kind of hard to turn back time. Even though Cher thinks you can, I realized you can't. So Erica, you have your hand up, and then I'll go to Jeremy, and then I'll ask Dawn to share the thinking of the select board and their discussion, please.
I just had a point of clarification. The board actually didn't hear all the CRC recommendations last week. It was only this additional funding request. They're actually doing the CRC recommendations this week.
Oh, thank you, Erica. Jeremy?
Yes, just to add to what you said in your summary and Joe's summary, I think our finance committee just had a problem with the appropriations process, number one. And number two, this seemed like a bit of an ill-defined problem seeking a solution. And in our extensive discussion of this with the CRC, rather than just saying it shouldn't work, we suggested that they go back and fine tune this a bit and readdress it in November.
Thank you, Jeremy. Okay, anybody else from finance want to add anything before I ask Dawn to share with us the discussion? Joanna?
I was probably the lone supporter of the $175,000, which my colleagues know. And it was primarily because, well, one, I'm the representative on the CRC, but I can address some of the criteria in question.
She frozen for everybody else?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but you froze, so we missed almost everything.
Okay.
Oh, you're frozen again.
Just turn off the video.
Should we wait?
No.
No, go ahead, Dawn. And then if Joanna comes back alive, if she unfreezes, we'll have her chime in.
So obviously, Dorothy and Jericho presented this to us last week. And I mean, we definitely had some back and forth discussion about the best way to fund this. And I think ultimately it got a positive vote because we wanted to see it implemented in fiscal 24, not fiscal 25. We wanted to see it get off the ground. And there was also the ability, once the program was started, to apply for grant funding for this. I mean, I also, continue to feel that we should be growing our budget for human services every year. There were over 1.2 million in requests, and we can't fund all of that. So that's sort of a side note. I don't know if Brooke wants to add anything, or Malcolm.
Yeah, first of all, I want to acknowledge that we did operate outside of normal procedure on this, and I recognize that, and I just want to acknowledge that I appreciate the process of the way we do the budgeting. My greatest concern here is the timeline as well of programming for kids in light of post-pandemic behavioral health issues that seem to be being experienced in behavioral issues in school and other things. And I was concerned about the timeline that was proposed by finance, pushing this well into the latter half of the coming school year. And that I really wanted to try to see something that could be fully implemented sooner than that. Therefore, pushing the timeline and going outside the normal procedure here was the way I was thinking about this. And I know the schools didn't ask for it. And I also know the schools are really struggling. And they've just gone through an IT crisis, and a lot of attention has been paid to that. And, they're short-staffed in this area in terms of people who focus on this and creating this kind of programming. So it's not surprising to me that they're not taking the lead on this, and that's unfortunate. And I think the community members and parents that I'm hearing from are very worried that if we wait, it will be too late. And that's why I acted on this, and as a unique and one-time kind of, overriding the recommendation of finance. So that was my thinking going into it. I just thought I wanted you guys to know that.
Malcolm?
Yeah, I think I want to ditto what Brooke has said, but there was some concern about where the money was coming. We asked Brian to look into that. I think that's important. So, I mean, we just didn't by chance say, oh yeah, let's spend the money. We also challenged them a bit to make sure when this went forward, there were some success criteria, something to measure that in fact the money was being spent appropriately. So I think we need to still know where we're going to find the money. I think we all in theory support it. We just have to make sure we have it.
Thank you. Any questions from the Finance Committee for the Select Board? Peter?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we had problems with is not the problem. We understand that there's a problem, but we didn't see what was being presented as the program. Somebody was asking for $175,000, it was a large amount of money, and they could not tell us what they were going to use it for or what they were going to do. And that was concerning to us. And that's, I think, led partially to why we made our decision.
And also too, our discussion at the time was that if it was approved in a special article at special town meeting on November 7th, the money's available immediately. So it's not available toward the tail end of the school year. It's available in November, 2 months after the school year has started. So we did ask that question to make sure. So, and then there could be more work in the meantime of here's what the programs would look like. Here's where our potential pieces are. You could start to, I mean, people could start to do the work now, knowing that the funding would come later, but it would, and we did, I remember specifically saying at the time, so maybe you don't need 175, maybe you'll need 250, so you're better off. And also too, with all the things that are coming in front of the town on this budget and this set of appropriations, we will know what's passed at town meeting and what's passed at the election prior to, at the time you're asking for money for this. Rather than now there's so much up in the air with the override for solid waste, et cetera, et cetera. So we just felt it was, you know, we needed more details. We needed more people that were invested in it in terms of, yes, we're going to participate and make sure this happens. And secondly, we needed a more clarity on the source of funds and whether the town could do it. So again, that was all just to give you more background on our thinking and the kind of questions we asked. We spent quite a bit of time on this, by the way. So yeah. Brooke?
Just by way of process, if this is held for a fall town meeting, we can't issue, this would be through you to Brian Turbot. Can you issue an RFP in advance of the funding being authorized? You know, to expedite the process?
We could, if we didn't, if it were pushed to a fall town meeting, they could start the process of hearing the applications and understanding what the programs look like to make a recommendation, and that recommendation would be contingent on the approval of the funding. We would not be able to award a contract or a grant agreement without having the funding. So there would be nothing to preclude CRC from putting out an advertisement for this and having people understand that.
So that is something I didn't understand.
Which is also why we had, I mean, partially for some of the other reasons that the finance committee chair explained, but that's also one of the reasons that we had suggested that, because we have town administration is giving the finance department a directive that we have to have free cash certified for in the event it's needed at the special town meeting, because it lapses on June 30th. So that was part of the rationale for suggesting that, was because we would have free cash certified and they could start the process. We just wouldn't be able to enter into the grant agreement without that funding being approved. And I apologize if I wasn't completely clear to you.
I didn't ask the question, which was my problem. I didn't ask. I didn't think of the question till after the fact. Okay. So my other question is, were the select board to consider unwinding this decision, what would be the way to go about doing that?
That process question I would probably leave to the town manager. I mean, if it doesn't, if the select board weren't to do it, we would have to present a technical amendment at some point to the FinCom to try to see if they were willing to entertain it prior to the annual town meeting, or it'd have to be done on the floor.
So if you want to unwind it, I guess meaning rescind, I wasn't there, but you took a vote. You could undo your vote on Wednesday.
It's a stormy night at Brooke's house here. We just saw the.
Wasn't expecting company.
Okay, so any further questions from, thank you, Malcolm, Brooke, Dawn, for providing that clarity for us. And that's, I think at that point, I don't think are there any other questions from anybody for anybody? Joe?
Just a quick note. I noticed that Libby sent a note. Joanna's in the waiting room. I don't know if she's been let back in or not. She just, if she wants to make a statement, I think we ought to give her a chance. So.
She said she keeps getting in and out. She's got an issue with her Zoom. I don't know if she's on or not.
She, when I saw that and Libby texted me, I did let her back in, but now she's not here anymore and she is not in a waiting room.
She said she kept getting kicked out.
I know.
Must- she
But
might
it's
have
not,
given-
it's her, not us.
Okay. Are there any other, I do want to say, as always, thank you so much to everyone who helps with the warrant process. It is a process. No, there's no question, 105 articles this year. Luckily, planning got to do most of the heavy lifting for them. Of the citizens warrant articles, there was 19, yeah, I think 19, or 18. And so we only had 9 that we were the primary recommendation on. But as everyone knows, we do make a recommendation on every single article. So thanks to my committee members for all your diligence in supporting this. Thanks to Libby and Brian and all the town folks who, and Andrew, and Leslie, all the town folks who help us get to here. Maria in particular on Brian's staff was a rock star. Rick, thank you, Rick Sears, Susan. So we wouldn't get to the outcomes we get to without all of your excellent help and assistance. So we appreciate it very much. And if anyone else has anything they want to add, otherwise I will look for a motion to adjourn.
I would just say thank you to the Finance Committee. I know that you spend a lot of time going through all of this. And we're usually all on the same page. So
Thank you, Denise. And I believe we'll have to have 3 separate motions to adjourn. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'll let planning go first, John.
Great. Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Dave, second by Barry. Roll call. Dave Iverson.
Aye.
Barry Rector.
Aye.
Joe Topham.
Aye.
Matt Lowell.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Finance Committee will go next. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. Jeremy,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Denise, I, and over to you, Dawn.
I'll take a motion.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All those in favor by roll call, Malcolm McNabb,
Yes.
Brooke Moore,
Aye.
John Holgate, aye. We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone, for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.